Hello, everyone. Welcome to Celsius 233, your go-to place for fiction book summaries. Today, we will step into the world of The Last of the Mohicans by James Fenimore Cooper. The Last of the Mohicans by James Fenimore Cooper, first published in 1826, is a historical novel set during the French and Indian War, 1754–1763, a part of the larger 7 Years' War. It is the second book in Cooper's Leatherstocking Tales series and is widely regarded as his masterpiece. The novel explores the complex relationships between Native American tribes, European settlers, and colonial powers. The central storyline follows the rescue of two sisters, Cora and Alice Munro, daughters of a British colonel, who are captured by a Huron tribe allied with the French. Plot summary. The year was 1757, and the French and Indian War had engulfed the American wilderness. A conflict between the British and French forces, it extended deep into the colonies, drawing the native tribes into its bloody grasp. Among the many dangers lurking in the woods, few were more treacherous than the wilderness itself, and yet, deeper into the forest journeyed two young women, Cora and Alice Munro, daughters of Colonel Munro, a British officer. Along with them rode Major Duncan Hayward, tasked with their safe passage to Fort William Henry, where their father waited. But the path through this untamed land was fraught with peril. Accompanying them was an Indian guide, Magua, a Huron chief with his own hidden agenda. Unbeknownst to Hayward and the women, Magua harbored a deep resentment against Colonel Munro, who had once whipped him and left him to face the shame of exile from his tribe. Fueled by this burning grudge, Magua plotted to betray them to his Huron allies. As they traversed the dense, oppressive wilderness, their journey took an ominous turn. Suspicion crept into Hayward's mind, but before he could act, salvation appeared in an unlikely form. Hawkeye, a white scout who had made the forest his home, emerged from the shadows, accompanied by two Mohicans, Chingachgook and his son, Uncas, the last of their noble tribe. Warned of Magua's deceit, the group fled into the forest, but the cunning Huron chief was not easily deterred. He and his warriors pursued them relentlessly. Taking refuge in a cave beneath a waterfall, the travelers found themselves trapped when Magua and his men discovered their hiding place. A desperate battle followed, but outnumbered and overpowered, they were captured. It was here that Magua revealed his true intentions. He offered Cora a choice: become his wife or face the deaths of all her companions. Proud and defiant, Cora refused him, her boldness stoking the flames of Magua's hatred. Fate, however, had other plans for the captives. Hawkeye and the Mohicans escaped and later returned to rescue their friends, leading to a daring chase through the wilderness. For days they moved through forests, across rivers, and over mountains, trying to stay ahead of the Huron war party. Along the way, Hawkeye and Uncas proved their unmatched prowess as trackers and warriors, leading the group with determination and skill. As they neared Fort William Henry, they arrived just in time to witness the fort under siege by the French forces, led by General Montcalm. Inside, Colonel Munro's men held out bravely, but their situation grew increasingly desperate. Magua, ever cunning, continued to maneuver in the shadows, waiting for his moment to strike again. When the fort finally fell, Montcalm allowed the British to surrender with honor, but the victory was tainted by what followed. As the British troops and civilians evacuated the fort, Magua, enraged by the loss of his vengeance, incited his Huron warriors to attack. A massacre ensued. In the chaos, Magua recaptured Cora, and this time Alice as well, taking them deep into the wilderness to his village. With his captives secure, he believed his revenge was complete. Yet Hawkeye, Uncas, and Chingachgook, joined now by Hayward and the remaining British soldiers, pursued Magua with grim resolve. The journey to rescue the sisters led the group into enemy territory, where danger waited at every turn. Along the way, Hayward, disguised as a French doctor, infiltrated the Huron camp with Hawkeye's help. While attempting to free Alice, they encountered a French ally sympathetic to their cause, who aided them in their plans. But Magua's grip on Cora was tighter. She had become the symbol of his vengeance, and he would not let her go so easily. Uncas, whose silent admiration for Cora had grown into something deeper, pursued Magua with a fierce and determined heart. His bravery, however, led him into the heart of danger. In a final confrontation, Magua took Cora to a remote cliff where Uncas and the Mohicans followed closely behind. In the ensuing fight, Uncas fell, struck down by Magwa's hand as he fought to save the woman he loved. Cora, too, met a tragic fate, dying alongside him, a victim of the relentless war and the hatred that had driven Magwa. With his son slain, Chingachgook, now truly the last of the Mohicans, mourned not just for Uncas, but for the end of his people's line. Hawkeye, his closest companion, shared in his grief, knowing that Uncas' death symbolized more than just the loss of a warrior. It marked the passing of a noble tribe, a vanishing way of life. In the final moments of the tale, the remaining survivors buried their dead, their hearts heavy with sorrow. Magwa, the villain whose thirst for revenge had driven much of the tragedy, met his own end, plummeting from the cliffs as justice claimed him at last. Alice was rescued and returned to her father, but the joy of her salvation was overshadowed by the losses they had suffered. In the depths of the forest, Chingachgook stood alone. His son was gone, his people nearly extinct, and the land that had once been his home was being claimed by others. The wilderness, which had witnessed so much bloodshed, stood silent once more, but it was a silence filled with the echoes of the past. The spirit of Uncas, the last of the Mohicans, lingered in the trees, the rivers, and the mountains, a reminder of a world that was rapidly disappearing, swallowed by the tide of progress and civilization. In the end, though the war between nations continued, for those who had lived and fought in the forest, the most important battles had been fought and lost in the heart. That's all for now, but if you're loving the Leatherstocking Tales series, there's more waiting for you. Find the other books by James Fenimore Cooper in the description or on Celsius 233. Remember, while our summaries capture the essence, they can never replace the full experience of reading the book. If this summary intrigued you, consider diving into the complete story, buy the book, and immerse yourself in James Fenimore Cooper's original work. Bye-bye, take care, have fun.